Hey folks, this is Keough here, and I have a new video for you today. And on this video I'm actually going to show you my workout in reverse. So I'm going to start with some of the hypertrophy work that I did for this session, and then I'm going to advance on to the reverse band box squats. And I'm going to do that because I want for the seated good mornings that I did to start my workout to serve as a catalyst for my topic of discussion for this particular video. And as you notice in these seated good mornings, I'm using 135 pounds in bar weight, but I'm also using what's referred to as posterior-anterior loaded band tension. Okay, that's band tension that is loaded from the front but is pulling you forwards. Okay, so the force is being generated from behind you, pushing you again forwards. And for me, in doing seated good mornings, posterior-anterior loading really increases spinal erector engagement. I feel like my spinal erectors are working a lot harder when I have to push back against those bands. And as you see, I'm trying to start with a neutral spinal position, or even really an arched back. I'm trying to get a good arch in my back. Then I'm trying to round over really hard. And I really want for my spinal erectors to be doing the bulk of the work. My hips aren't being engaged, my quads aren't being engaged. I'm really focusing this movement on my spinal erectors, putting myself in bad position and then taking myself out of it with the goal of producing hypertrophic gains. And so that brings me to my topic for this video today, and that's the importance of, if you want to be an elite level powerlifter, if you want to be a top level powerlifter, the importance of looking like a top level powerlifter. And physique development is important for powerlifting. It's oftentimes, I think, ignored by aspiring powerlifters, but physique development is going to be very important for powerlifting. And physique development for any sport, including powerlifting, is going to require a certain degree of dissymmetry. And the only sport for which this isn't the case is bodybuilding, or any sort of physique. Any sort of sport in which you're judged on your physique and in which symmetry is one of the criteria for judging. Outside of that, dissymmetry is always going to be required to a certain degree for any sport, and powerlifting is no example. And to give you an example of this, take Olympic weightlifting and take Olympic weightlifters. So Olympic weightlifting is another strength-based sport, and if you look at the elite level, the Olympic caliber Olympic weightlifters, they all have very similar body types. Okay, they're all proportioned in a dissymmetrical manner, very similarly. Okay, they all have, as an example, usually very big legs. Okay, very big legs, and other muscle groups that aren't necessarily used as much are underdeveloped by comparison. And there's a reason for that. It's a weight class-based sport, and you want to maximize muscle size in the muscle groups that that play the biggest role in the lifts that you're being asked to perform. Now, in powerlifting, the difference between powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting is that there is no ideal physique. There's no single ideal physique, because there's no single ideal body type for all three exercises. Okay, and what I mean by that is the ideal body type for, say, a deadlift, in terms of limb length versus torso length, in terms of muscular development, is going to be in direct conflict with the ideal body type for, say, a bench press or perhaps even a squat. So there is no single ideal body type for all three lifts, but individual muscular development should be determined by your own individual build, how your leverages are put together, how you maximize your leverages, and also your personal lifting style. So if you if you tend to like to bench press with a narrow grip, and that's where you feel strongest, then tricep hypertrophy development should be really critical for you, even more so than, say, a wide grip bencher, because you're recruiting your triceps all that much more than somebody who's benching with a wider grip. So you want to think about personal lifting style, and you want to think about shaping or molding your body to have muscular development in a way that will allow you to lift as much as possible using your own individual style. In general, in powerlifting, some muscle groups are more important than others, okay? And a good rule for determining this is that most of the important muscles for powerlifters cannot be seen from the front, okay? Most of the important muscles, the really important muscles, the prime movers on the 3 lifts, are on our backside, okay? For me, in the hypertrophy work that I do, I focus primarily on 3 muscle groups. And I do hypertrophy work for other muscle groups, but I focus on 3. I focus on tricep development, and I think tricep development is important for everyone. I think if you want to be a big bencher, you have to have triceps. They're the primary movers on the bench press, whether you have a narrow grip or a wide grip, though of course they're more integral if you have a narrow grip. But I focus on tricep development, I focus on spinal erector development because I pull with a rounded back, and so it's important for me to have very strong and very developed spinal erectors, which is why I do things like seated good mornings. And I also focus on glute development. And I focus on glute development for another reason. It's because I perceive it as a muscular weakness, and I'm trying to build up that weakness. But those are the muscle groups that I focus on. I think if you look at most good benchers, they all have a similar body type. They have big triceps, they have a thick back, they have wide lats. Deadlifters all have prominent spinal erectors. Great deadlifters all have very prominent spinal erectors. And squatters all have really thick legs. They have really impressive glute and hamstring development, particularly if they're low bar squatters. So if you want to join somebody as an elite level lifter, in a particular lift or in all lifts, it goes without saying that you want to look like those lifters, and you want to develop your body in a dissymmetrical manner to be ideally suited for the task of squatting, bench pressing, and deadlifting. Alright, anyway, I hope that was maybe informative for you. Maybe this is something that you've already heard, maybe this is something that goes without saying, but it was on my mind today when I was doing these seated good mornings and again, experimenting with another loading scheme for band tensions. So I hope you find that interesting. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, I will have more videos for you soon, so please keep checking in. Alright, I'll have more stuff for you in a bit.